What's going on, everybody? If you couldn't tell, I am not in New York. I'm actually in Bali, Indonesia, of all places. So if there's background noise or anything, like birds, those aren't birds, those are bugs. If there's bugs chirping or motorbikes passing by, dogs barking, that's why. But I thought I'd make a video just doing something different, right? There's this challenge I saw on YouTube earlier today, and it was basically just talk to the camera for 10 minutes, no editing, no cuts, no script, nothing, right? Because so often, myself and every other creator out there on YouTube or whatever other platform scripts out, meticulously plans what they're going to say to, obviously not try to waste anyone's time to try and seem very articulate or like you have your thoughts put together and whatnot. You cut out all the random pauses, the ums, the voice cracks if you're me at times. But that's not real, right? It's real to an extent, but a little bit artificial, manufactured, right? So seeing that and just seeing how raw he was in the one-shot take that he did, really inspired me to do the same. Because over the past couple of weeks, really, as I've reflected on this creative journey I've been on, I realized that the sort of content that I'm making, the way that I conduct myself in the videos, isn't really me. It's not totally authentic to who I am, right? I'm not this super extra guy who's trying to crack jokes all the time or make stupid analogies and be super, what is the word? Flashy? No, there's a different, animated, that's the word. That's not me, right? And if I'm not being who I fully am, then that's a disservice to myself, a disservice to all of you, and it's just not really aligning with the vision that I had for this channel in terms of what sort of vibe or atmosphere, and more importantly, what sort of community did I want to cultivate, right? A community of people that I would be beyond proud to stand behind. So in that sense, I'm changing it up. I'm just gonna do what I do best, which is just be me. Just speak from the heart, let it rip. So I'm gonna set a timer for 10 minutes and just see what happens. Give myself like 10 seconds of buffer time, but here we go. I think people just have a hard time like doing this, right? Just talking to a camera because they don't really know what to say, or more importantly, it's like they don't really feel, oh, hello. But they don't really feel as if what they have to say is important, or when it comes to shooting videos, they're not creative enough, right? And that's just not true, right? I think on the day, what does being creative mean? And everyone's going to have a different definition of what it means to be creative, but when I think about what creativity means to me, it really boils down to a few things, right? And the first being, or the main thing being, it is the purest form of human expression, right? When you're on stage singing or dancing, playing an instrument, painting, or you're even in conversation, right? When you are just fully at ease, you are just being your truest form of self, right? There is no sort of external pressure or judgment or anything. You are expressing who you truly are, all of the unique qualities and experiences and amazing things that make you who you are, right? Especially the emotions, the experiences, as I just said. And when we think about it, right, there's no right or wrong way to be you, to express yourself, your thoughts, and feelings. So to say that you're not creative would be just devalidating yourself and your own emotions, your own experiences, which I'm sure, as some of you can probably tell through the videos I've made, I definitely have my fair share of experience with both A, being devalidated in terms of emotions and feelings, and as a result, naturally defaulting to devalidating my own thoughts and feelings. That's a shame, right? Because our thoughts, our feelings, they stem from experience, right? And the more we close ourselves off, the more we put ourselves down, we shut off and devalidate our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, the more we disconnect from ourselves, right? And I think that's why we're not very creative, or most people, myself included, for a good stretch of my life, convince myself I'm just not a creative person, not meant to be creative. And I say this as someone who, for all of my life, all the signs pointed towards that I'm a creative person per se, right? You know, I was that kid who wrote short stories for fun. I would bring my action figures into school so I could play with them underneath my desk or draw them. Or after school, I would sit on my stairs and drum up all these battle sequences, my clone trooper action figures and all that. Or on Sundays when I would do art lessons. And all those signs should have pointed to me being creative, right? But when I think about it, I lost sight of that. Because I didn't quite realize at the time, but I really attached being creative to what you do and not who you are, right? To be creative is to sing, to draw, to paint, to whatever. And for me, growing up, those weren't options as a potential future, right? They were just nice things to do for fun, to round out your resume, to make you seem more interesting, I guess. But never a viable path in life, which is a shame because so many of us, myself, my younger self included, have this innate desire, this calling to be creative, to be yourself. And the society, the community we grow up in doesn't really allow that, doesn't really support that. And it feels like to have permission to be creative is something only granted to the select few, right? The artists we listen to on Spotify, the YouTubers we watch online, whoever, right? That they're creative. I'm not, you're not. And that's why I share, right? That's why I post every Saturday on my Instagram story that I have a new video out. Because I think a lot of what it boils down to is just seeing other people do it, right? Growing up, we naturally emulate those around us. That's how we gather our bearings and our sense of self in the world. So the more and more we perpetuate this kind of stifling of creativity, this stifling of true self, the more and more it becomes the norm. And anyone who tries to step outside of that is weird or shunned, whatever. But and just showing up and putting yourself out there, right? It's not an easy thing. And I'll admit it's definitely weird at times just filming yourself talking to a camera and putting it on the internet. When you put it that way, it definitely sounds weird. But I do it because I want to be that person for other people out there, for some of you out there. Because growing up, I didn't have that person. I didn't have that person telling me, you can be this. You can do this. It seemed like everywhere I turned, family, friends, the environments and communities I was a part of, whether it be in school, extracurriculars, society as a whole, was telling me not what I could be or what I could do, but who I couldn't be, what I couldn't do. And we're subject to that, excuse me, we're all subject to that. I don't think anyone really escapes growing up, becoming an adult unscathed in that regard. And it really just comes down to being able to unlearn all of that, all of those limiting beliefs, those self-imposed restrictions. Because I don't want to assume, but I can bet you when you were a kid, you weren't going and telling yourself, hey, Dennis, you're not going to be creative when you grow up. You're not going to be able to do this or that, right? You have all these dreams of being whatever, being whoever. Like, I used to play my yard, like roll around my front yard and pretend I was a ninja. Like, I really thought I could be a ninja, but I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm compensating by having a Japanese tattoo. Apologies if I just shook the mic. But again, right? It just takes one person to show other people that it's okay. That it's okay to just be you. And what does it mean to be you? To express your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences. It's being creative, right? You're all creative, every single one of you watching out there. And if by shipping myself and the content I make, putting it on the internet for people to see, can inspire at least one of you out there to do the same, then that's all I can ask for. Well, that's the 10 minutes, but I'm just going to keep talking for a bit, if you don't mind. I've got nowhere to be. So, where was I? Yeah, in that sense, right? I think when you see someone else doing their thing, showing up for themselves, it's admirable. It's admirable. Jeez. Because they're going against the grain. They're choosing to stand out when standing out means, quite literally, being away from the crowd, the group, the safety, opening yourself up to criticism and putting yourself in harm's way in certain cases. But is there not a more beautiful way to be human than to willingly do so, right? And to willingly do so for others, to try and instill in them a sense of belief that they can be whoever or do whatever. I think I want to go back to this point earlier, but I just think about all the times growing up, if I just saw someone else who I knew, right? It wasn't like some super far and away detached YouTuber or artist being like, yeah, you can do it, right? But just a regular dude, right? There's nothing particularly extraordinary about me. I'm just an ordinary guy who just cares a lot about this thing. And for me, what is this thing, right? This thing is, I guess, essentially, how do I inspire and help others just be themselves, right? And it sounds so simple, but so many of us have a hard time being ourselves because, as I've mentioned, we're so used to being told we shouldn't be ourselves. We should modify or adjust who we are to fit in, to be safe. And as I've mentioned, the more we do that, the more we disconnect from our true selves. And when we're disconnected from our true selves, from our thoughts, our experiences, our emotions, who we are, you can be damn sure it's hard to create or to be creative, right? So in that sense, that's what I care about. That's why I do this. Because I spent an entire life being someone I wasn't, when all it might have taken was just one person giving me that permission that I can. So I want to give you all that same permission, right? You, wherever you are, whoever you are, you're allowed to be creative, right? You're allowed to just be you, to have your experiences, your thoughts, your emotions, and to share them with others, share them with the world. Because there's no one in the world like you, like me. We all have this unique set of qualities, both innate and cultivated over a period of time through the environments we were raised in, that shape us into who we are. And there's no one in the world who is better at being you than you. And I can bet you, just as I've mentioned in this video, but there's some kid out there, right? There's some kid out there, some younger version of yourself who is looking for that person to just show up, give them permission. And whether you realize it or not, there's something about each and every one of us that there will be someone out there who can relate to you on, right? Think about it. On paper, I might be this, objectively, how are we going to describe this? I don't know. Straight, Asian guy, grew up in the US, I don't know. Which, in itself, right, isn't very unique. But the other experiences that I have are what differentiate me, right? What differentiate you? The fact that I had a, pretty emotionally traumatizing childhood. The fact that, I had deep-rooted anxiety, self-esteem issues, that I lived my life for someone other than myself, that I did a lot of things in my life, but have started living true to myself, right? I think that's something, regardless, there's going to be someone out there who resonates with that, who sees themselves in me and what I do and the work that I put out there. And just as you can too, right? You can put yourself out there with just a little bit of vulnerability, a little bit of courage, and there's a voice within all of us crying out to be heard, crying out to finally in your life express your truest self. And if you just listen to that voice, amazing things will happen. You might even end up in Bali. I don't know why it took me so long to say that. Bali or some other tropical country or whatever place around the world. Just follow that voice. Yeah, that was a real, that was a really unorganized kind of ramble, and hopefully there were some sort of insights that are coherent enough that if you're watching this still, can glean from all this. And if you are still watching, wow, I seriously appreciate you, like, beyond words. But yeah, that's me. Totally unfiltered, as raw as it gets. That sounds so bad. But yeah, that's who I am. I plan on making more videos like this, especially while I'm here in Bali. And I challenge you to do the same. Take out your camera. Doesn't have to be anything special. Flip it around, put it in front of a water bottle, I don't know, and just hit record and just talk. See what happens. Make a YouTube channel, post it as unpublished, maybe even write an article, write a poem. Just do what feels right to you. Because at the end of the day, there is no right way to be creative, no right way to express your truest self. I really should have opened with that or something. I don't know why I inserted that at the end. Shit. Well, I'll see you all tomorrow.